Dan Illman, Matt Birney are taking a look at race number 3 at Penn National on Thanksgiving Eve. Kicking off the Penn Pick 6 with the $100,000 Swatara Stakes. You can bet this race. You can bet the Penn Pick 6. You can bet the Fabulous Strike at Penn National. I'd bet the whole card while you're at it. With a new DRF Bets account, sign up at bets.drf.com. Receive a 300% deposit match. Here's the field for the Swatara. And friends, if you remember last year's analysis of the Swatara, Matt said that Discreet Lover couldn't lose. And Discreet Lover won the Swatara and then went on to win the Jockey Club Gold Cup in 2018. Do we have a Grade 1 winner, a future Grade 1 winner in this field?
I'd be stunned, absolutely stunned, if we found a future Grade 1 winner in this field. But guess what? You could have, if you had told me that day when we did the preview for the Swatara in 2017 that Discreet Lover would win, I would say, yeah, you're right. And if you told me he would go on and win the Jockey Club Gold Cup that year, I said, you're out of your mind. So who knows? Anything can happen. It's horse racing. We know that. What I do know is this is a pretty fun race.
Certainly is. Your morning line favorite, a Massachusetts bred. It's the number 6, Dr. Blarney, who had a 6-race win streak, snapped last time out behind the suddenly rejuvenated Unbridled Juan. Who knew Unbridled
Right.
Juan was a win machine? He won that race, then came back to win the Dickie Small at Laurel with a 95 buyer. Timeform US had the day at Delaware color-coded blue, I believe, which favored closers. Dr. Blarney was pressing the pace 3 wide, took over turning into the lane, and got run down by a sharp horse. He might have a better scenario and a better class situation here.
Yeah, I really, you look and see what this horse has done throughout his career. It's hard to knock anything about him. He's just the definition of sort of a racehorse. His blue collar, shows up, runs, doesn't matter if it's in Delaware, if it's here in Massachusetts, Finger Lakes, anywhere. He runs everywhere you throw him. So the fact that he's been keeping good company, you brought up that Unbridled Juan piece where he came back and was the next out winner with a 95. I think he fits in here really well. I think he can work out any kind of trip. He can go to the lead if it's given to him. He can sit just off of a target. He's 17 of 24 lifetime. I have nothing to knock about him.
Percy won 10 races thus far in 2018. I believe he's the leader of the entire year in amount of races won in 2018, and he's won 6 in a row. Now he's been doing it against much weaker competition. He won with a 99 buyer speed figure last time out and a 5,000 starter allowance. Timeform US thought it was a good race when you adjust for pace. 119, that fig looks legitimate, but boy, this jock was driving and whipping at the 3/8 pole to get him to the front, and he kept on going to the whip all the way down the lane. Probably need to do that, but it's nice to know that Percy does have that fast race in the bag. I need him to do it again for me because I think he's going to get bet off that race, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wins this.
No, I mean, look, it is really one of those things, the ultimate conundrum as a handicapper, where you look at it and you go, the figures all seem to check out. Everyone seems to be in agreement that it was a fast race. It's just, one, where did it come from? Because that's far and away the best race of his career. This is a horse that's been in sort of the low 80 range for the majority of the most recent runs. And like you say, after he's ripped off a million straight victories, I just need to know where did that come from and if he's going to do it again here in this race, because if he regresses back to that sort of low to mid 80, he's not winning. If he runs the 99, he's probably winning for fun.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this race. Our friends at Timeform US believe the pace will be fast. Maybe that works against the 7 Johnny Jump Up. While you were scoring and jumping up and down with Discreet Lover, I was picking Johnny Jump Up at 11-1, and he set the pace and he gave me a little bit of a thrill before tiring. Now, no Discreet Lovers, See Ravens, or Fear the Cowboys. Well, maybe a See Raven. No Fear the Cowboys in here, but Johnny Jump Up, I think, is going to be on the lead. He's in good form, and I think he's a solid horse that could be used underneath. I'm not sure he's good enough to take him wire to wire, but I've always been a fan of this horse.
No, I agree 100% with the form that he's in. Obviously, you see that he has a bit of a penchant for Penn National. He's 10 of 33 lifetime. I think he's going to be forwardly placed. I don't know if he's able to stick around when it's all said and done, but I do think here's a real scenario where he hangs around and he can finish 2nd or 3rd.
John Jones has banked over $400,000 in his career coming off a stakes placing, but I would think that the old John Jones would have handled Sunny Inspired, a horse that occasionally likes to nibble. Sunny Inspired got John Jones that day back on September the 29th, after John Jones was able to make the pace in that off-the-turf stakes race. He was a vet scratch at Aqueduct on November the 11th, so he's coming into this race off a 2-month layoff. I do like his tactical speed. I just wonder if maybe he's lost a slight bit of zip off the fastball.
Yeah, that's got to be a logical concern. I'm also concerned. I don't know about you. I look at the distance for this horse. I've just always felt that he's been much better suited at a 1-turn mile or even the 1-turn sort of mile on a 16th as opposed to some of these other races where You're going 2 turns, a mile and a 16th. I just don't know if this is really what he wants to do, even when he was at his best. And now it's definitely fair to question if he is at his best. 0 for 4 lifetime at this distance, and he's only hit the board once.
Number 4, Monongahela returns to his favorite track. He is 4 for 11 at Penn National, 1 for 7 elsewhere. Ran well off a slight layoff last time out when finishing behind Dr. Blarney. Might have had the track in his favor that day, but he has run some races when you give him pace. And Timeform US believes he's going to get some pace. Perhaps this horse has a big shot at a price to at least crack your exacta and trifecta, and if not, take the whole thing.
I think he can get a piece of this. The real kind of problem I have with Monongahela is you go through and look, it feels like ever since he's gone through all those conditions and they've brought him into stakes company, he just hasn't been able to get over the hump. And I do wonder if you're going to get another situation like that here in this spot where he's going to run well, he's going to come from off the pace, he should have some pace to run at. If he comes with his bid, I think he can get a piece. I just don't know if it's enough to win.
Grasshoppin set the pace in the Buddy Delp. Just no match for Dr. Blarney, Monongahela, etc. If you think closers did well, you can give him a little bit of credit for that performance. But he was getting tired late. I like him at slightly shorter distances.
Yeah, 2 for 20 overall at this distance, 8 times second or third. I don't think he loves this. He is one, though. If for some reason you get some moisture in the track, move him up. He's 4 for 10 lifetime in a wet going.
Formulator fact for the 9, Someday Jones. I've always been a fan of Someday Jones. It's a shame he's had his share of physical problems, but he's 2 for 2 over this surface. And John's service doesn't do this very often. Turf to dirt, 45 to 60-day layoffs. Over the past 2 years, though, he's 2 for 6 with a 5.33 ROI. I just don't think this horse is a turf horse. And if you take his turf and synth races out, I think his form is okay. That race 2 starts back. I thought that was a speed-favoring track. Someday Jones was really up against it, trying to rally from last.
I think he's very dirtied up. I agree with you that he's not a turf horse. I can even say with the run 2 starts back, he was run over a wet, fast track. He's 0 for 3 lifetime on a wet surface. He is 7 of 11 on a fast main track. But I want to take it even a step farther than that. When you go through and take a look at his 2-turn races on a fast main track, there aren't many of them, but they're all pretty darn good. And that one 3 starts back, that's the one to me that sticks out and says, you know what, he fits in here quite well. And you brought up he's 2 for 2 at Penn National. I think he's got a big chance.
Before we reveal our picks, we'll talk about a couple of price sources. Let's go down to the inside with Pal Cowell, 4th in the Maryland Million Classic last time out. I don't think that was the strongest Maryland Million Classic. The 5th horse came back to buyer 79 when 2nd in a restricted allowance. Showed some good speed from the inside. Not sure he's fast enough, though, to make the lead in here. He has won rating in the past. Upgrade if wet.
Upgrade if wet, and also I kind of look at it and say, you know, you go through these, 7 most recent starts, they finally stretched him out. I think they are very clearly better races than what he was doing when he was going shorter. Having said that, I think he is up against it. If you're going to use him, I would just suggest underneath.
And not fake news, 30 to 1 on the morning line. Both of his lifetime wins have come at Penn National, but his buyer speed figures, his Timeform US speed figures pale in comparison to those of the top contenders.
Yeah, he's just a difficult one to make here on paper.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Swatara Stakes, race number 3 at Penn National. You're going to go with the 9, Someday Jones, 6 to 1 on the morning line. That's a fair price. He fits very well, I think, from a class standpoint.
Yeah, he would definitely be a win bet for me at 6 to 1. I'm going to be curious to see how this whole thing is bet. I do think Dr. Blarney gets bet in here. I picked him second. I think he's the most likely winner of this race. But to me, those are the 2 that I really want to key in on. And again, if I can get something right in that 6 to 1 range, I would definitely be playing Someday Jones to bet.
I like Dr. Blarney's versatility. Not sure he's really going to be a win candidate at 2 to 1 on the morning line, but he's rock solid from a buyer standpoint. You can pretty much pencil in a buyer in the low 90s for him, and that might be good enough in a race like this. And he's versatile enough that while he likes to be forwardly placed, he doesn't need to lead. I think he can sit off a couple horses. Maybe he can attack turning into the stretch. He's 6 for 8 at this distance. I'll go 6, 8, 2, 7. Matt's going with the 9, Someday Jones in the Swatara Stakes, race number 3 at Penn National on Wednesday. Bet the card with a DRF Bets account. You sign up at bets.drf.com. You receive a 300% deposit match. It's very simple. Approximate post time for the Swatara, race number 3 at Penn, 6:57 Eastern. Best of luck.